I got nightmares in my head, I fear that the thoughts build up until I can't hear, that my mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper. I've been feeling weird, I can't seem to focus good enough. Nothing's really clear, sometimes it could be a little tough. I just need to feel like the end's in sight for me, but let's be really real, anxiety can foggy all this stuff. I've been feeling weird, I can't seem to focus good enough. Nothing's really clear, sometimes it could be a little tough. I just need to feel like the end's in sight for me, but let's be really real, anxiety can foggy all this stuff.
Has anyone noticed that Trump kind of stopped tweeting about the, the strait? I'm pretty sure that was all planned. He got what he wanted, and I'm going to talk about that in a second. So that's mostly going to do with rates and trying to break these SMA levels in the market. But we're going to kind of start off with how to understand the market, because I can tell you right now, there's a lot of people confused. There's a lot of, even bears are confused. I mean, I can make videos and tell you that, for months and months and months, that when we do get hard drops like this in the market, we usually get strong rallies. Now, this is a little bit different. This is what Democrats look like, and Trump is taking it to the next level. And that's mostly due to this right here. This right here is when the tariffs came in, and then the Democrats pretty much stopped them. So we have to refund $185 billion or something like that. That's crazy. We have to give money back to countries that money's been taken, to help us. It's kind of just, I don't get it. I really don't get it. But either way, Trump is backed up in a corner, and I think it's going to be where he's trying to do a massive liquidity sweep in the market. And this is where mostly I talk about this time in the market. If anybody was trading back here, you remember this. We would get these really hard drops, the SMA levels would pop right back up, and then we would all together, just all the Mega 7, for some reason or some events, earnings, yeah, don't even get me started for next week. For some reason, or bad CPI reports, because inflation would spike, it would just automatically reject and we would go into the next leg lower. And I honestly think Trump is taking it to the next level because he's backed up in a corner. And what do I mean by that, right? Because if you don't really understand, usually one president will have one huge bull rally for 3 years, 2.5 years, and then he'll have a bear market to reset rates. And that's not like a crazy thing. It's now we're in the time of the GDP and the countries where we have to cut rates. If you don't understand rates, you can't hold rates forever. If you don't know what I mean about that, go study 1979. It's one of the first things you should learn, honestly, if you're trying to learn about the market and about rates. So we know the direction of the market, and there's going to be a lot of people saying the bear market never happened. It was just a simple rebound, like I talk about in my videos. And then every time when we do have a rejection and then we break into the next leg lower, and then people are just, it's just a repeat of 2021, 2022. But just kind of want to break it down, and we're going to kind of break it down by step by the equal weight, because that's where a lot of people are trying to see. That's where it's confusing for a lot of people, like right here in the triple Qs. A lot of people are confused because we're making a higher high in the indexes, but no one's looking at the entire market. No one's back testing off the Mega 7 and actually is looking at what's happening in the market. Because if you don't understand, this is market cap. If you are a trader and you don't use market cap in your trading, you shouldn't be trading. This is called equal weight of your index. Every index has multiple stocks to a percentage of what it controls. So we're going to go over SMA, that, and then actually backtest off the Mega 7. And we're going to actually break this down because this is going to be a very confusing market. And I'm going to just show you what I've learned throughout 3 bear markets. And it's literally the same exact thing. If you don't know what I mean by that, is every bull market is the exact same way. You'll have very, very, slow rallies and then a hard drop. And then really slow rallies and a hard drop. But what a lot of people don't know, it's just an inverted bear market. When you have a bear market, you have really hard drops and then a slowly tick up. And then a hard drop and then a slowly tick up. And every time at these tops, everyone screams, that bear market's over. And then you'll see a lot of people come on the news, and it's super toxic. Probably more toxic than your ex-wife. But let's actually break this down really quick. Oh, and by the way, this is what we have for next week in earnings. And most of them are all together, just kind of just saying, kind of not being a conspiracy theorist, just you only have like 4 or 5 Mega 7 stocks on Wednesday. Just kind of weird. And then we also have Powell. We actually have the federal rate, and that's something I want to see what's going to happen. Powell's supposed to be, I think this is his last rate hike. And what's going to be really funny is, if you don't understand rates, is when the market goes up, we raise rates usually, and when the market drops, we usually drop rates. The indexes are making new highs. That'd be so funny if Powell just raised rates before he walked out of office. That'd be so funny. But just giving you guys a heads up. And by the way, if you do want to join the Discord, we do have the link in the description or in the comments of the video. So if you're like are struggling with trading, or you're just confused or have questions about your account, you can come in there and ask me personally. We do have a paid membership side, so if you want to come join that, or if you just want to come hang out in free chat, we have a free chat. Just don't be toxic like most of them. So let's actually go over this really quick, because I want to kind of put this in a different perspective, because and it's mostly, it was really triggered by, not really like triggered in a bad way, it was more like triggered into, I had a PTA meeting with my daughter's teacher on Thursday, and my daughter is having certain ways of reading, and where when I was growing up, I was really smart in math, like stupid smart. When I was 21, I made my first million. That's how dude, learning rates at a young age and credit and stuff like that, and learning the value of a dollar, and learning how market works and how it affects the housing market and stuff like that, you can make a killing at a young age. But the thing is, when I was growing up, I couldn't spell or read at all. I struggled super hard, and I had to learn how to, balance that. And now my daughter's having that. So what I'm saying is, when I was talking to the teacher, I had to explain to the teacher, because I'm not gonna lie, I was that quarterback that was in special ed resource classes my entire life, and that's mostly because I came from cornfields, and I'm on the east side of Missouri, on the bottom around Sykes, Missouri. And my school, or here, I'll put it this way, my hometown was 37 people. So we didn't have the budget, and back in the 90s there wasn't leapfrog, you know what I'm saying? Like, there was well, the government's paying us to have kids, pass, and they wouldn't care. So I really struggled with trading, and there wasn't really teachers that could really comprehend on how to do it. So as I grew up, I learned a lot about special ed resource classes, and later on I became actually a suicidal nurse later on in my life, around in my early 30s. And I used to be a behavioral nurse. I used to actually go in there and teach kids that were very, very abandoned by their parents, and I would teach them finance and stuff. Hopefully it would affect them in a certain way. I couldn't give them my YouTube channel, and because that's just policy. But what I'm saying is, today we're going to break it down into a different concept. And I think this is where a lot of people struggle with trading, because I see a lot of people, they go onto YouTube, and they'll look at a YouTuber and then jump to another one, and honestly, you don't have to do that. The biggest thing that comes from that is, most YouTubers don't backtest the right way. I want to show you that. But the basic concept of equal weight in the market is these stocks right here. 7 stocks control, or 8 if you want to do Google A and C, but 7 stocks, the Mega 7, control most of the market. The other 3,500 stocks, yeah, they do follow the triple Qs, and they have different volume, but you can read a lot on what's going to happen to the market by just 7 stocks, and that's why we go over it really quick. And that's why we backtest with SMA levels too. But in other words is, let's actually look at this. So here's the NAS 100. I actually just went up there and posted it this morning. So here's the NAS 100. If you actually look at it really quick, let's see if I can make it bigger. If you actually look at it, this is the NAS 100. NVIDIA is number 1, 10% of the NAS 100. Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, AVGO, TSM, Google, Meta, Tesla, AMD, just those stocks alone control most of the NAS 100. But the lower to the list, see, like, this is the percentage right here. So the lower the list you go, the less percentage they have. And usually when you get around past 25 stocks, they get down to like 0.05, 0.04, and then eventually goes down to 0.001. Like, it gets really super small. So a lot of these companies, they really can tell you the health of the market, because I can tell you right now, a lot of YouTubers are going to go online and they're going to be like, this was just a V-shaped recovery. You're going to hear it a lot. You're going to hear it a lot. And what I'm going to tell you right now is, every time that we had a V-shaped recovery back in 2022, what was really happening is, on the SMA levels, you can see right here. Let's actually bring that up. So on the SMA levels, you can see how when we were rejecting every time off the 10 simple moving average or the 20 and having a bearish trend, we would have a breakout. But notice how all the SMA levels would get pushed up, the 10, the 20, and then they would all get clustered together. But back in 2022, we kind of rejected off the 100 and the 200. But that was during a Democrat president. Trump is backed up in a corner because he wants to cut rates. And you can kind of notice, if you haven't broken out of the stage of knowing what the president and how news affects the market, usually news, they will justify news for the action of the market. Now, tweets are really coming into the market very more aggressive now, but a lot of people are going to say, this was just because Trump was tweeting, he's telling us. No, guys, actually, I was telling you this. We were still in the 2023 bull channel the entire time. The only problem is if you actually backtest this, I'll show you in a second, a lot of the Mega 7 stocks were not breaking their 200 simple moving average, and that was mostly the biggest problem with the market. The market was just barely breaking, and the selling was dying really quick. From 590 to 555, like that's easy to get above the 200 simple moving average. And I think that's what Trump could see, because he was pretty much looking at the entire market. Trump doesn't sit on an index. Should you sit on an index and trade? No, you shouldn't. You should back test and see what these other companies are doing. Now, what I'm saying is you have to see this in a bigger picture, right? So with your SMA levels in equal weight, this is what I'm talking about. I know a lot of people can't comprehend, and this is the backstory of my daughter, having to learn a certain way, and I had to too. So we're going to put it like this today. So let's imagine this in percentages, right? This is market cap. So let's do this. Let's draw a circle. So, or almost a circle, either way. So this is the entire pie of the market, right? This is all the entire market into one big pie. And the problem is when you are looking at numbers, some people can't comprehend numbers. They have to see it in a different way. And that's where I really take off into trading. I can see things different than probably 95% of the traders, is because I learned a different way. I taught myself a different way. Now let's look at this in a perspective, right? So here's the pie. Let's say, so about 50, or no, it would be like 46%. This would be small cap companies, right? Right here. But on the other side of it, on market cap, like NVDA, Meta, them like that, pretty much them, they're going to have different values in the companies. And they're going to have a lot of different, if AMD pushes really hard, just like this, it's going to sling the indexes really, really hard. And that's what a lot of people can't comprehend, is they just see, the index. But you got to remember that there's multiple big companies that control over half of the market. So what they do is, if there is like 2 or 3 companies that are pushing like AVGO, Amazon, and AMD really hard, what this is going to look like is you have to look at it like this. So like, let's go to AMD really quick. Where's AMD? Here's AMD. So AMD is not in the SP 500, barely in the Nasdaq 100 by 1%. The triple Qs like this, which is probably a little bit higher now since it's got a bigger market cap. But that's what I'm saying is, with AMD pushing, if you actually go look at this, here's the SP 500. The SP 500 hasn't been doing anything. But if you go look at the triple Qs, it made a last ditch push on Friday's session. You can see it right here. That red box on the SP 500, that's this box right here. So you can see a lot of this push in the market right now is really not the entire market. It is really actually only 3 stocks. It is AMD, it is AVGO, and it is also Amazon. And you can probably add Google into the picture also, because it really did have a nice push. But you're looking at an index, but you're not backtesting and see what's actually happening in the market. Now, a lot of people also are going to look at this index and be like, this is bullish. But that's where a lot of traders break off to knowing how to trade and not knowing how to trade. A lot of traders are going to be like, well, and it sucks that most people can't do this, because when I taught myself this, because no one taught me this, I had to learn how to understand the market, and it took years and years. And what's going to happen is, this is pretty much a big liquidity sweep. And a lot of new traders that are going to come in the market, because the news is going to say the stock market's making all-time highs, and you're going to get a lot of people that are dumping their life savings into stocks that are at extreme high values. And what's going to happen is, just like how I pointed out back here, let's actually bring it up. So like how I pointed out back in 2020, like 2021, 2022 on the SMA levels, what that does is, when we get a really hard push up, and SMA levels go with fib levels, they go with price action levels. Like SMA is one of the oldest ways of trading. All your indicators that you pay for online go off SMA levels. They just don't tell you. But what I'm saying is, look how all the SMA levels got pushed up into one big cluster. Now Trump is taking it to the next level, because he knows he has to do something with rates very soon, or he's not going to get all his golden age bull market. So notice how we did bounce off of this 200 simple, or we did bounce off of this support in the market. Let's actually turn this off so you can see a little bit better. Notice how we did bounce off of that support in the market, but we also broke it. And a lot of people down here probably are doing the exact same thing at this very top. We broke support, we're going to keep on dropping. And I was telling you guys, we're going to get a big push. We're going to get a big push. Don't keep shorting on the shorting of a falling knife. You're going to get burned. And a lot of those people that were trading options probably for a week out, 2, a month out, month and a half out, they're going to pay the price. Now the people that are trading 3 months out, they're going to be able to break even or make a small 50% gains. I know that's crazy, right? Because a lot of traders think 50% gains on options is low, but either way, that's who usually have gambling addictions. But in other words, is down here when people are going to keep on shorting is going to be the exact same people up here buying calls, and they're going to get trapped. Now, here's the thing though. A lot of people are going to look at this index and say it's bullish. But let's look at the SMA levels. Notice how all the SMA levels are in one big clustered spot. That is a perfect setup for the bears. And the reason why is those SMA levels, those support levels are not spread out. They're all in a clustered. Like here, let's actually pull up on the triple Qs. So let's say this. If we do drop in the market, if you break 599 in the triple Qs, there's no support levels. And what that's going to do is that is going to round this off. You're going to see a drop like this in the market to going to the next leg lower. And the reason why is because this 10 moving average or 10 simple moving average is going, the market's going to get under it, and it's going to do what the exact same thing last bear market. It's going to reject, and reject. Like it's just going to keep on pushing. But a lot of people are going to say, well, King, you're just talking about an index. Well, let's back test this, Jimmy, because Jimmy's probably all hyped up on caffeine. He's like, I made a killing in calls. I bought calls at 550, or I bought calls at 655, and Tommy Lee said it was going to 7,700. Well, guess what, guys? Tommy Lee says he's backtracking on it. Now he's bearish. Yeah, now he says that pretty much the top's in. It's going to stop at 7,200 on the S&P 500. I don't even get how he got 7,700. I really don't. I really don't. So let's actually backtest this, right? Just like how I was talking about the pie picture, right? This is where it comes into play. This is market cap of what Apple's into each index. And it's usually around, they're usually around the same settings. So in each index, the Mega 7 is probably going to take most of 30 to 50% of that index. So those big companies are going to control a lot of, where is that picture? So a lot of those companies are going to have a lot more pushing power than these smaller cap companies. So what's going to happen is when these bigger cap companies that have been pushing, let's just go over them really quick. Let's go down here. Let's just start off with AMD, right? Well, when AMD starts to reject, because that's going to reject, you're going to start seeing a lot of these companies start to push down, like AMD, AVGO is going to have a reject, and then you're going to see Amazon have a reject. And what that's going to do is, if you actually look at most of the bigger cap companies, because AMD, AVGO, Amazon, and Meta, they're only like, AMD is like 1.5%. Meta, Amazon, and them, that's like 4-5%. But these bigger cap companies this is what can really tell you the health of the market. And what do I mean by that? If the market was making all-time highs, but these stocks that are not making all-time highs, you can see all we're doing is making lower highs. So really, the market isn't really doing better. It's just a couple companies pushing the market a little bit more than what it was doing before. And that's giving the illusion to a lot of traders out there that the market is still in a bullish phase. But no one is looking behind the picture into market cap and percentages. And what this is going to do is a lot of these companies like Apple, let's look at Google. Google's making a lower high. That's Google A. Let's look at Google. That was Google C. Let's look at Google A, making a lower high. Let's look at Tesla, making a lower high. Let's look at NVIDIA, making a lower high. Let's look at Microsoft, still making lower highs. Meta making a lower high. But the only thing that's really pushing these indexes up is Amazon, AVGO, and AMD. That's where it's giving the illusion that the market is still bullish, but it's really not. And that's where a lot of people are going to come in, and they're going to get trapped. Because what's really going to happen is, this is how it's going to play out. And I'll probably, not going to lie, I'm going to make a ton of videos until I told you so. It's just, there's so many toxic people out there. And they still come in my comments, my Discord. They're like, you are wrong. Dude, I told you there was a big push coming. I told you to be careful shorting. Trump is trying to take it to the next level, but why would Trump take it to the next level, right? Why would Trump tweet so much at 580, 570, all the way to 510, right on those indexes supports? And then also, what a lot of people are not seeing is Trump was texting and tweeting, or not texting, but was tweeting a lot around here when a lot of the Mega 7 were on their 200 simple moving average. And that's what Trump was trying to do. He's trying to get that big liquidity sweep. And then when this does reject, notice how the 200 simple moving average is higher now. So all Trump has to do is he could do some war with Iran. Not really war, because we know we're not going to put boots on the ground. We all know it's fake. But he's just trying to spike oil to cause inflation, to cause strain on these companies. Guys, everything's made with oil. You know that, right? It's not just gasoline and diesel. Everything in this world is made for oil, like from oil. Like, it's crazy that people can't even grasp that. So a lot of these presidents from all the way from '08, from 2000, Bush, Obama. Biden did it with Ukraine and Russia. A lot of these presidents, instead of trying to reset the market the right way, they'll do proxy wars. They'll do simple wars. Guys, we all knew Bush was going in there for the oil. It wasn't for oil for America. It was just to spike oil back in 2008, 2000. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's all just a big view that nobody sees. And the reason why is because, in 2008, if you go look, oil spiked really hard because a lot of people were getting loans at really high interest rates and it couldn't take it anymore. And when you have, if you can have anybody go get loans, they're going to default really quick. And if it gets too out of hand, you're going to get something crazy. So a lot of these presidents will go into a country, start a big oil war, and then it gets a shock on the market. But the thing is, with Trump, he's doing this with Iran. And what you need to understand is he's making one ditch last push, because the reason why is the new Fed guy comes in next month on the 15th-ish, I guess. But the thing is, if he gets ready now, which he's already been doing it since the 1st of April, you can see in all the Mega 7 stocks. We all bounced off the 200. He started making tweets all the way from like 560 in the triple Qs to around 580. And then now you can notice that there's really no tweets because he knows he did what he was going to do. Now, when you have, AMD, AVGO, Amazon, and these other companies reject from this high, I want to show you this. A lot of the Mega 7 stocks, notice how the 200 simple moving average is higher now. If you go look at Tesla, Tesla's already rejecting off of its 200 simple moving average. If you look at NVDA, look at NVDA. It tried to break the 200 simple moving average, and then it got caught, and then now it's above it. But look at the 200 simple moving average, still super high. It's going to be easy to break 182. If you look at Microsoft, it's still in a bearish phase. All it did was just have a little bit of a push up back to the top of the channel. It's going to reject here with the market. If you look at Meta really quick, Meta's at its 200 simple moving average, about to reject. If you look at Amazon really quick, Amazon's going to make a huge rejection, but look how the 200 simple moving average is just sitting there. We already broke it once, so it's going to be really easy to break again. If you look at AVGO, we already broke it once, and it's going to be really easy to break again when we have these big Mega 7 stocks actually do reject. AMD was really toxic. It was riding its 200 simple moving average, but when the market around here, around March 31st, April 1st, when we started getting that big push around 555 in the triple Qs, that's what really is helping AMD. And there's probably a lot of insider trading, not going to lie, because, dude, I talk about it all the time. AMD is probably, I don't even think it's a meme stock. I think it's probably the shadiest stock you can do. The drops and the rallies in AMD are super unrealistic, and the contracts are still super high. But guys, the market is still making lower highs. So get off your indexes, stop watching the news. If you are watching a YouTuber that is not talking about the market like this and breaking it down like this, he's not really reading the market. He's reading you at index. And you cannot read, like, if I go to the NAS 100, the NAS 100, there's a reason why you call it the NAS 100. There's 100 stocks in there. And I'm telling you, the NAS 100 is going to do this next week. It's going to gap up. It's going to fill this gap. And then Jimmy's going to do this. And Jimmy's going to do that. Guys, you can't read 100 stocks off of an index. That is the dumbest thing that anyone can say, honestly. If you're sitting on an index and you are not doing your back testing like this with SMA and stuff like that, I'm telling you, you'll never grow as a trader. But just be really careful. But next week, we do have, wasn't it CPI? Who was it? Who's told me that? I can't remember. Next week is huge, guys. I'm not even kidding. We got 5 Mega 7 stocks all in pretty much one day. We got POW. We got... POW on Friday. And then we also got, dude, next week is huge. It is going to be huge. But I really want to see what POW does. I really, really want to see what POW does. Because it's really going to, oh, there it is, core PCE. But I really want to see what POW does, because is he going to be really shady and raise rates before he leaves the market? Because if you don't really know rates, around here, there's around 5% interest rates. Now, Powell was easing rates because he saw the weakness in the market, and he cut down to around 3.75 interest rates. But look at this big push up. This is going to be funny if he raises rates a quarter. That would be so funny. Just be like, yeah, Trump, you remember when you tried to put me in prison? Peace. Dude, it's going to be a crazy week next week. But I just want to kind of give you some context. Now, I'm just going to let you know, I'm going to try to post probably every day next week, but next week is going to be really huge for me. My custody battle starts with me and my kids. Am I nervous? No. I actually have the winning hand, which is kind of wild. Not very many dads get the winning hand. But it's a 4-year due process that is coming to a close. Well, not coming to the close. It's going to start. But, yeah. It's finally time for someone to pay for their actions as an other parent. Very toxic, very abusive. But we'll see what happens. You know, I'm going to post another video tomorrow. So make sure you guys sub to the channel. If you guys want to come in the Discord and talk to me about your account, because I know a lot of people are probably down, up, don't know when to sell, when to sell. If you want to come in there and just gossip with me, I'll be in the Discord. The link is in the description or in the comments of the video. It'll just take you right there to me. So later, guys, be safe. Yeah, let's get it.